It's a good day, friends. Welcome to Our Power is Within. I'm your host, Chasmith, aka Just Chas, and I am on a mission to inspire people to take their power back and help people to realize that each and every one of us has a healer within our own self. When we can create an environment that supports healing and get out of our own way, we are truly capable of healing in mind, body, and soul. Wow, can you guys believe that today is episode 52? There are 52 approximate weeks in a year. That is so crazy. It feels like only yesterday that I nervously recorded my very first episode and released it and put it out there for the world. Simply wow. Yeah, so my official 1 year anniversary is actually next week because that first nerve-wracking episode was released on September 1st. And I am excited to share that I broke 25,000 downloads before the 1 year mark. Some of you might be thinking that is a lot, and others might be thinking, wow, that's all. But for me, I'm honestly just thrilled because when I started this project, I had no idea what could come of it or what the intention was. I just knew that it was something that I was committed to doing in following my heart. And to me, 25,000 downloads means that 25,000 times there was people out there that got to listen to one of these absolutely amazing guests that I've had over this past year and in some way be inspired to find their inner healing capacity. And speaking of healing, I want to ask you a favor. Can you please help me spread this message and help me inspire more people in this coming year? I have so many wonderful guests lined up for the podcast that I am really excited to share with you all. And there are several ways that you can help me spread the message of empowerment, healing, and possibility. You could take a moment and leave a 5-star rating and a quick review on Apple Podcast. And of course, you could share your favorite episode with a friend or on your social media and tag me at Our Power is Within. And whether or not you've been following along this whole time, or if this is your very first episode, thank you for being with me on this journey. I do hope that you guys got to dance your booties off last week for last week's dance challenge. This week's challenge, we're actually going to go back to the journaling practice. I want to give a couple options though, since not everyone has the same needs. Have you ever heard of morning pages? It's a practice that Julie Cameron came up with. She is the author of The Artist's Way. It's a free flow stream of thought writing first thing in the morning with the goal of clearing your head of all the random monkey mind thoughts. However, alternatively, maybe you are feeling heaviness of emotion lately and you don't really have an outlet of expression and you might want to try expressive writing. Pull out that pen and paper and just let the raw and real emotions of any sort pour onto the paper. And when you are done writing and it feels complete, burn or shred the piece of paper and wrap yourself in a big giant hug. Or maybe lately you felt a creative flow and you want to give a go at writing poetry or even start the book that you've longed to write for so long. Set a commitment to yourself every day for a set amount of time and let that creativity flow. Either way, if you can make a practice of writing every day in any way that most supports you for the next 7 days, and then just see what happens. Okay, so I am really excited to share with you today's episode. I've been excited for a while now. Why, do you ask? Well, because Sarah Harvey is our guest today, and Sarah's message very strongly relates to what I am so passionate about: self-empowerment, recognizing that we all have superpowers. We choose our life, and when we realize that we can choose our life, when we realize that we choose our life, we also get to choose what we do about it. And Sarah gives us some wonderful insights and practical tools to help us navigate this journey called life, navigate through our healing, or as I prefer to call, our becoming experience. Sarah has a powerful testimonial that she also shares with us as well, and just what she has learned along the way on her journey and in her own personal experience. Please enjoy today's episode. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. I am very excited to get to chat with you. And yeah, I just want to say for everyone listening that I love every message that you share with the world. I feel like everything that you share really resonates with me. Every day I'm like so silly. Every day I literally look forward to getting on Instagram to just see what Sarah's up to in the world today and what truth bombs and wisdom nuggets she's sharing with us. And yeah, I really enjoy the message that you're spreading right now. So thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. My heart's full and I'm like, oh, smiling, grinning from ear to ear. That's so lovely. And thank you. I've needed to hear that, I think, because I started to detach a little from Instagram. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm very excited to share the fact that healing happens, the fact that we can heal with you today. So thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to have you share that message. Yeah, like I said, every day that I see something, I'm just smiling like, yes, fire, yes, awesome, yes, another. Like, she speaks words that I feel, but I can't put into words so eloquently as you do.
Oh, wow. Thank you. And
So,
like some of the time, I just feel like it's just all one giant rant. But sometimes it comes out like that, and I'm
yeah,
glad that it resonates with you.
yeah, and I'm sure it's resonating with like thousands of other people, so it's really awesome. And it's what's funny is speaking of healing happens. Um, I was wondering if I'm not sure how many people may or may not already be following you or know your message, but maybe what we could do to start out is we could, for everyone listening, have you share a brief intro about who you are and how you came to be where you are today. Because if I recall correctly, at one point, not very long ago, you were actually still in the rut of it all, still suffering from, I think you said as much as 200 symptoms.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when you finally decided that you were going to heal, it happened very, very abruptly, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to share. So, I was diagnosed over and over again as this is how it happens. First, it's like something like a muscle skeletal disorder. Then it's an autoimmune. Then it's a stomach thing, and then it's this, then it's that, and then the bloods come back, and then they say you look fine, and then you carry on, carry on. So that went on for years, like pretty much from 2010 to 20. Well, I was ill. Well, I don't like to say ill, actually. I like to say we're healing, because sickness and illness and disease are all made up words, in my opinion, that profit the big pharma industry. So actually, let's say I've been healing from 2010 to 2020. But that doesn't mean the conscious healing took that long. Like when I decided, right, okay, I've got like 15 something diagnoses. I've been told they're all incurable. I'm going to heal now. Like that happened in 2020. And the decision happened in about June 2020. And it's hard for me to say when exactly, because it just sort of, I woke up, I was living my life and I was like, oh man, I haven't flared in ages. Like I haven't had symptoms. So it just sort of, I was like, oh, I guess I've healed. Like I haven't had any symptoms. But then everybody says, oh, that's just remission. And how do you know? But look, I don't care about the word remission. There's only healing. And so since June 2020, I haven't had, those kind of chronic symptoms. However, I make it very clear to everyone that symptoms may come, a headache, maybe a stomach ache, but it's not this chronic, like for no reason, confusing, week-long flare like it was for all those years. Now it's like, okay, I'm about to date the wrong guy, or I'm about to make a bad business move, or I'm overdoing it, or I'm doing there's something going on in my life, and my body expresses that in a symptom, and I'm able to go, oh, I see what's going on, quickly see it, hear it, do some inner work, love myself, choose myself, stop self-abandoning, stop being around toxic people, stop wasting on my prana or whatever it is I'm doing, come back to me, find my center again, and then I don't need medication, I don't need anything, the symptom can just heal itself, because that's all a symptom is. It's your body saying, hey, this is not working for us, like stop doing this. And then we don't stop doing that because we've created our whole life around being chronically ill. But the background is things like fibromyalgia, chronic migraines, chronic jaw stuff, chronic infections, sinusitis, tonsillitis, eye infection, ear infection, every couple of weeks. IBS, so with the constipation and the diarrhea and the bloating and the acid reflux. Acid reflux in particular was very bad, which doesn't surprise me because that's all about fire and bitterness and resentment, a lot of stuff, a lot of emotional stuff in the symptoms. On top of that, there was UTIs, there was joint pain. Obviously, fibromyalgia itself has hundreds of symptoms: brain fog, insomnia, the widespread muscle pain, feeling spaced out, dry throat. I couldn't regulate my temperature, so I was profusely sweating, even in winter. Anxiety, depression, panic attacks. POTS, I think is so POTS is a diagnosis. So with that one, it's like standing up and then feeling like you're going to pass out. Low blood pressure. It was like every part of my body, there was something happening in every part of my body, but not to the degree that it was showing up on scans as like arthritis or osteoporosis or things that are on scans. But still, it doesn't really matter what the diagnosis is. They're all, in my opinion, they're all psychosomatic and they're all healing.
You mentioned that you were healing from 2010 to 2020 and that but it wasn't conscious healing. For anyone listening, could you explain what that means? Because I know I've been there, and I feel like there's a lot of people who are probably like, well, but I am consciously committed to healing. So I don't understand, what does she mean?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And it doesn't at all mean that someone's not working hard enough, right? So I would say, in all honesty, the first few years, I was chasing more diagnosis. I wanted more. I wanted to find out what was wrong with me, and I wanted the validation that I would get from doctors. And so although I still call that my healing process, I wasn't looking for healing. I was definitely looking for more like, my vocabulary, my way of living my life was like, I'm sick. I'm a sick girl. Hashtag sick girl. Hashtag chronic illness warrior. And that was my life, and it was kind of like my identity, my like thing. Like, when people write a bio about themselves, well, mine was, I'm sick. That's my bio. That's me. So then that started to change around 2016. And I started to travel a lot, went to India, really started to meet people who were on a whole different realm in terms of healing and consciousness and realities. And like the reality I was living in, where illness is like, it's just, there's no reason. You just get it. You just get Lyme, you just get lupus, you just get it. You just get fibromyalgia, and that's it. And it's incurable. And I was just these doors just opened up to like, that's one reality. There's another reality where it's all healable, and then we're really going down a rabbit hole now, because then it's like, on some level, on a soul level, you chose yourself, you chose your body, you chose your life, you chose your parents, and that's a hard one. I've done a lot of work around that, because that was a hard one to swallow. And we chose it all. We chose our life, and we're choosing every day and every moment. And I grappled with that, and I refused to believe that, but I carried on reading books, listening to podcasts, immersing myself, traveling to more Southeast Asian countries where healing is very like easy to talk about and meet people and go to workshops and go to classes. I became a yoga teacher. I really immersed myself in it. Now I got to the point around 2019 where I knew I could heal. So now I have to admit that I chose not to heal, because I knew I could. I've met loads of people. By that time, I'd met loads of people who had healed all kinds of autoimmune disorders. I found also online, like on Instagram. And I knew I was here to heal, that I will heal, but I was still not quite done yet with all the reasons why I had all the illnesses, a lot of validation, a lot of need to be seen and cared for and looked after. And if I heal, like, how am I going to get any of that stuff anymore? And a bunch of other stuff that I had. This is personal for me. I'm not saying that these are the needs of anyone else. This is my story. And until I finally just shook myself up, really, and that was in 2020. I left a toxic relationship. I left a toxic life in Spain, and I moved back home briefly to sort myself out, I just said, I just got to a breaking point of like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this old life, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if it's scary, even if I'm going to lose my identity, even if I'm going to lose every friend I've ever had because they just know me as a sick girl, even if I'm going to lose everything. The old me is going to die, and I'm ready. I'm ready for her to die now. And that is the pivotal moment where then I started making new choices, and I started to just decide I'm already healed, even though at that time I was still having symptoms. And I really just shifted. It's like a train on a track, and I just shifted the course that I was on to just, because I was just so angry. I was just so like, I'm done. I'm so done with this. And I felt that before, but it was more like a victim, like, oh, why is this happening to me? I just want this to be over. Whereas now it was like, it's done. It's just done. I'm shedding it like a snake shedding skin. And then part of that new way of living meant I had to quit my job. I had to quit my old life. I had to make new choices. And this is why in my work on Instagram and in my work in my coaching business, there's a big emphasis on recreating your life. Like, now it's time. Go after your dreams. What do you want? Who are you? Because you're not this chronically sick person. Who are you really? That was just armor. That was just a way to keep you safe from the potential failure or rejection or abandonment or whatever else is your thing that you're afraid of. And the chronic illnesses came in really useful to keep us in a sense of safety. But when you finally feel ready to break free and recreate your whole life, because it's your whole life. I haven't met any person who's healed themselves and stayed in the same life and stayed with all the same situations. Like, definitely a few things, like if someone's married, like obviously they carry on being with their partner, they love their partner. I'm not saying you have to change everything, but the core pillars, they change naturally, because as you heal chronic illness, you really start to realize that you've been self-abandoning everywhere. You've been self-abandoning in all areas of your life, and your body's just been like showing that in symptoms. And the hard work isn't in the getting up or exercising or choosing what to eat or what supplement to take. Like, that's all just nonsense, really. Like, that's not even the point. The point is choosing yourself and believing in yourself and loving and liking yourself and being nice in the mirror to yourself, and getting past the cringe when you first start looking at yourself and saying, I love and appreciate you. But then you get to a point where you really believe that, and you see the divinity in yourself. You see that you are as divine as the plant and the ocean, the sunrise, the sunset, the mountains. Like, that's you. You're that. And then you fall in love with yourself every day. And so you want to live the best life you can. You want to get out there. You want to, no matter what, no matter everything you could lose, to live is more important than to stay in fear. And so that's when healing happens as a side effect, and it's just very quickly. You no longer need the symptoms.
Right. I love it. Oh my gosh, that was a lot. So many things that you just said I want to follow up with. One, I want to say wholeheartedly, and I know anyone who's listening to this and who has been an avid listener knows that I've said over and over and over that I truly believe that the level of like ill that we become or dis-ease we feel in our body is a direct correlation to how far away we have gotten from our like how out of alignment we've gotten with our truth, our true self.
Absolutely.
And you also say something that was really hard for you to grapple with. I also 100% agree with this. And it is hard. It is very hard to accept this at first, the possibility that we chose it all, including our parents, the life, everything, all of it, where we're at today. It's like, and there's a lot of people who kind of feel like when you say that they're at fault, or they're to be blamed. And it's like a reminder that to accept and admit that there's a possibility that we chose it all is not saying we're at fault. It's not about fault or blame, because this isn't a conscious choice. It's, perhaps happening at a soul level. So I always like to remind people that if there's some resistance, like, I didn't choose this, I don't want this, that,
yes,
and feeling like we're saying they're at fault. It's not about fault.
I'd love to
Not
just
blame.
talk on that a moment because it's beautiful, and that will come up even outside of chronic illness, because my clients heal chronic illness quickly. And then what? We've got like 3 month, 6 month packages. It's not all about chronic illness. It's about the love life. It's about money. It's about business. It's about they want to move to Bali, but they can't. And they have all these limiting beliefs and, oh, I can't, blah, blah, blah. That same thing, that same story is, I didn't choose this. Well, I didn't choose to be in this job, and I didn't choose to be with this partner, and I didn't choose. And I have to remind them, you chose it all. And
Yes.
chronic illness isn't any different to that. But it doesn't mean it's your fault. However, I think there's huge empowerment in us just shifting this idea about fault and blame, because that comes from victim consciousness. It's all my fault. It's my fault. I did this. I'm so bad. I'm so lazy. I'm so this. I'm so that. And so when we hear things and we feel triggered and we feel, oh my God, she's saying it's all my fault. How dare she? I would actually suggest that the person who feels that already feels that within them. They already feel that it's all their fault, and they're trying to deny that and reject that. And so if they hear someone like me, they can feel very triggered, and they can feel that I'm saying that because they already feel that. And now because this is law of attraction. This is how law of attraction works. This is how we create our reality. So they're already feeling that. I show up as a mirror, and then through their perception, I'm mirroring back what they already believe. And so they're triggered. And triggers are gifts when we're conscious of them, because then we can say, oh, okay, there's something within me that still feels like it's my fault. Great. Now I can go and work on that and meditate on that and heal that and release that because it's not my fault. However, how empowering. I chose my whole life. I chose me because I love me so much. I came here to heal myself, and the only person who can do it is myself. So then I got to a point where I could say, you know what? Maybe I can say things are my fault without the weight of the like, it's all my fault. I'm such a bad person. Instead, it's more like, it's all my fault because I'm so divine. I'm so empowered. I'm so majestic. I chose it all. I create sickness because I create healing. I create tummy ache, I create migraine, I create it all because I'm trying to avoid something or heal something, or I'm scared of something. And actually, that's so sweet of my body. Like, I've been going through, dating has been the most current thing going on in my life, and symptoms are coming up like, oh my God, I'm so nervous, what if he doesn't like me, boom, bladder infection, boom, this. And it's been really fun to revisit what happens when symptoms come up, and I get to continue doing the inner work. I get to continue empowering myself, because it's not like when you heal chronic illness, that's it, like you'll never get a symptom ever again. It's like, no, symptoms will come, just like if you touch something hot, you're going to burn yourself, and there'll be a burn, and then your body will heal the burn just like it heals everything.
Yes, that's so beautifully said. I'm glad that you spoke up on that and explained that more deeply. And it's so true. It's really about empowerment and taking responsibility, not about victim blame consciousness at all. And yes, symptoms are always going to present themselves because they're simply sensations and part of the human experience. As long as we're
Yes.
being human, we're going to have emotions and we're going to have potentially symptoms. But the trick is, are they acute or do they become chronic?
Yeah.
Are you able to, like, as you say, do the work to overcome them quicker? And speaking of that, I actually want to get into that because people that are listening are probably like, okay, well, but what's the work? Like, I'm ready to heal. These symptoms came up. What's the work? How do I bust this migraine? Like,
Yeah.
so when you're on Instagram and when you're talking with me right now, what do you mean by doing the work?
Okay, so I call it inner work. Other writers, speakers on this call it shadow work or inner child work. It has lots of names, but the point is, so let's take the migraine as an example. Chronic migraine, it's a diagnosis, it's incurable, so they say, etc. And you're flaring. Potentially in the flare itself, it depends how I feel. I might not suggest to the client or myself to do the inner work in that state of mind, but it depends how you're feeling, because inner work could be meditating or journaling or asking yourself the tough, honest questions. Why did I manifest this? And so again, it's the fault responsibility thing. Why did I create this for me? Not why is this happening to me? Why did I do this? Okay, and then your hand is on your heart, and you're giving yourself so much love, and you're just being open to hear. Okay, what it. And I often ask my clients questions to help them get into the work. So like, how is this protecting you? What is this giving you? How is this serving you? How is this benefiting you? What are the benefits? Tell me at least 20 benefits. And I get them to tell me all the benefits. And it's hard at first because of course we're like, benefit, like I have to miss work, then people are angry at me, and then this happens and this happens. But within all of that, there are benefits because, and I love this part because this is where we dig and we dig and we dig and we find that maybe I'm thinking of chronic fatigue clients of mine who know they got to a point with their own work that they realized they wanted on some level to be invisible. They didn't feel heard or seen with the people that they were around, family and friends, and it felt easier and safer to be invisible. However, when you're in front of them all the time, present, then they start making you do stuff that you don't want to do, or they're talking to you and you don't want to talk, but you don't have any boundaries, and you don't have the confidence to just say, hey, I don't feel like hanging out, I don't feel like talking right now. Or like maybe you're being pushed by your mom, pushed by someone. There's just all this stuff going on. The body manifests symptoms maybe so you can have a get out of jail card, like the Monopoly game, that you can just take a step away. And again, I'm not saying to the listeners that this is you. I'm saying you got to do the inner work and find out for yourself. But my clients found in different diagnoses and in different ways, one core theme is like an excuse, basically, to put it really bluntly. And I can be honest with the symptoms I had as well. It was easier to say to my boyfriend, sorry, I've got a stomach ache and a headache, so I can't do whatever, than it would be to say the truth. And at that time, I didn't know what the truth was. That was the truth. That was the truth. This pain is real. The client with chronic fatigue who says like, oh, I need to go to bed for 3 weeks and they're so exhausted. It's real. I never am saying that these are not real symptoms or that they're made up. Not at all. They're so real. At the same time, we're still manifesting them for a reason. We're still trying to protect ourselves. We're still using them to talk for us. Symptoms express what you're unable to just say. So part of healing is really getting so strong and finding your wild woman self or your wild man self, and that confidence in setting boundaries and being able to say no just because it's a no. And this is only one aspect. There's hundreds of different aspects on why we would manifest a symptom. But one could be we have no boundaries. Another could be we don't know how to rest. We don't know how to rest. Rest feels unproductive. We feel like there's not enough time for rest. We've got to be super on it all the time. People depend on us, so we work ourselves to the ground, and then we burn out, and then the symptoms come. And then even when we're resting, we criticize ourselves. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel worthy. There's so much. So it's all of this. It's all the emotional work that is not taught in schools. It's not taught in universities. It's not taught in therapies often. It's not taught in the doctor's office. It's not taught when you're diagnosed. It's just not taught ever until you either travel or you read something or you come across it. And even that is because you finally got yourself ready to be open to hearing it. Like, even if it was through travel or someone recommended a book to you. I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many books have we all been offered? Like, over the years, loads of people have said, oh, have you heard of Deepak Chopra? Or have you tried yoga? Have you tried this? And we've just been like, leave us alone. Like, no, I don't want to try yoga. Like, no, or yes, I tried it once. It doesn't work. That means we're still holding on to the chronic illnesses. We're still not ready yet. And that's okay. That's okay. I can accept that I wasn't ready for many years. I wasn't ready. And then as we start to shift and we start to feel ready, then maybe one of those portals is the portal. You finally read that book, you listen to that podcast, you try that class, you try some diet. And again, it's not about any of those things, but they might start to open you up to how powerful you are. That's the point. You're powerful.
100%. We absolutely are. And it can be scary to think that, for some people, It's like a new concept at first. So, um, okay, I'm going to backtrack a little.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how the core of illness is self-abandonment, and that we have to start to
Mm,
choose to believe in ourselves, to fall in love with ourselves. What if you have somebody who just hasn't gotten to the point of believing that they're sick from self-abandonment? Because you mentioned it even just a moment ago that, you know, for you, when you said when you were going over the excuses, you said, it was easier to tell my boyfriend no because I have a stomach ache or a headache, rather than no because of the real reason. Yet the thing was, is at the time, that was your truth. You didn't know
right.
a different truth. So there's more than likely people who aren't even aware that they're not actually aligned, because we only know what we know. So maybe there's somebody who's like, but I am my true self. I am, So if they haven't reached the point of even being aware that they've self-abandoned, what what is your advice on how they could, like, what could they do to begin to explore and be curious about this?
Yeah, I love that. Yes, and I often hear this a similar thing online, and with people saying, "I love my life. I'm very happy," and that's beautiful, and I'm not denying it. However, it only takes a 10 15 minute call with a with a potential client, and we get in quick, and we start to see that there are things that she or he has never been able to do, or the chronic illness is taken away, or things that they had to sacrifice for them, for a partner, for children, for someone. There's things that they feel they're not good enough. They have a should list that's the hundreds of things long. They should be here. They should do this. They haven't done that yet. All these burdens, all these things that are weighing them down. I ask about, like love life, potential, like there's a lot of costochondritis, there's a lot of heart chesty kind of stuff, upper back pain stuff, shoulder, frozen shoulder, all this stuff. It's all connected to the chakras. I work a lot with the chakras, being a yogi and very spiritual focus. So when somebody first says, okay, they've got a bunch of chronic illnesses, or maybe they don't have a diagnosis as such, but they've got a tinge in their back that they've always had, and they don't know why. Or maybe like a guy the other day came up to me, he's got pain in his elbows. Within minutes, we got to the point of the elbow pain, because I'm very direct. And if you can be open and honest and let the guard down, nobody's attacking you, nobody's saying it's your fault, just let the guard down, be open, you can get to the point very quickly. And like in the elbow case, it was that he was totally rigid in all areas of his life. Rigid, he like wouldn't be adaptable. He wouldn't like change areas of his life. He was going to the gym 7 days a week. And it's not only about the physicality or the physiology of like burning yourself out. It's the mindset. It's that he didn't feel that he was already good enough, and that he had to change in some way. And his joints and his elbows were just like showing up like stop, like by physically stopping him. Because if your elbows freeze, there's not much you can do with your hands, and the hands and the arms are all about giving and receiving, and he was refusing to receive. I mean, that's huge. We could, like, me and him could talk about that for hours. And there you go. And then you go down a rabbit hole of like, oh, where am I not receiving in my life? Receiving love, receiving money. And it just you find patterns all over your life, the same pattern that runs, the same pattern that's stopping you from like manifesting your true love. It's the same pattern that's stopping your business from being successful, or money easily just like flowing into your life. It's the same pattern that's stopping healing flowing into your life.
Yeah. Yes, that's such a good point. Just like, it's so funny because I always talk about how we it's the same, it's just like it's the same patterns that might stop things from flowing or stop you from experiencing the success you want in a certain area of your life. It's almost funny because it's often the same disciplines in a sense, or the same mindsets, or the same choices that kind of create the flow,
Right.
you know? Generally, if you get really good in one area and you can apply those principles or whatever it is, however you approach that area of your life to the other areas, it will probably also yield success.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah. And so I never tell someone, it's not, see, coaching's not like consulting, and it's like me telling them things. It's more like I ask questions and then they find their own answers. My clients tell me like, oh, Sarah, I've just realized blah, 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 blah. And then I celebrate them because they've done it. They've realized it. And I guide because I've read so much, I've studied so much. I know the body mind inside out, what every part of the body symbolizes and where it could be directing you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's 100% the case. It's all unique for the individual and their programming, their conditioning, their upbringing, what they've learned about themselves and what they've learned about the world. Like I use some phrases and ask them if they agree, like time is money. You know, you gotta work hard in this life. Like rest is for the weak. It's very interesting what people believe, because if you believe these things, you begin to orchestrate your life around that. And I 100% believe that our whole life is just accumulation of all of our beliefs that we choose. And this is where we can begin to change our life, because you just begin changing your beliefs. This is the inner work. This is the shadow work. Why do I believe this? Why do I believe that I'm incapable, for example? And we might not be aware that we believe that, but we might find that out through some reflection of like, and just noticing the way we talk. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not good. Or, oh, I'm terrible at that. And we begin noticing that we have an habitual way of talking that's very low vibrational. It's very self-critical. But we found like this is just how we relate. This is how we talk. And the people around us also talk like that, especially in my British culture. It's normal. It's actually deemed arrogant or rude to not talk like that. And so just, really starting to get aware of like our beliefs, and that our beliefs are programmed onto us through society, cultural norms, and our parents and grandparents, and then energetically like our whole lineage. And as women, I get quite passionate because I believe we are carrying a lot of patriarchal exploitation and oppression that our foremothers carried, and we're still carrying all of that. And even the whole point of Big Pharma coming into business and burning all the witches who were not witches, they were just women like me and you who understood that we can heal, but they had to go in order to make Big Pharma and modern medicine successful. So we're carrying a lot of grief, we're carrying a lot of like disempowerment, and woman, be quiet, and you don't get to be here, and you don't get to and oh, sorry, you're incurable, like there's nothing we can do. And it's just not, when you realize that's one of the biggest lies ever told, you just really start to reclaim your power. And this is third chakra stuff, which is about fire and confidence and self-belief. And it's not just like, oh, maybe I can manage the symptoms. It's like, I can change my entire life. I choose all of it. And really believing that.
Yeah. Take your power back.
Yes.
Oh, it's good. I want to give some people some practical tools that they could, use on their own as well, that as they're listening. And so maybe you have some book recommendations, because you said you've read a lot of books. You're really familiar with different, a couple things specifically regarding. I would love a tool that somebody could reference to start to understand the different potential emotional connections to different parts of the body, or different illnesses that may manifest or show up, if you have one.
Yes.
And also, okay, let's start there.
Okay, yeah. So the life-changing book that changed the course of my life is called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. She's passed now, but that book's incredible. She's incredible. And it taught me also about how we choose our parents, how we choose everything. And she does have in the back a kind of reference guide for symptoms connected to what they symbolize. And what's interesting with how she accumulated this work is that it's all from just talking to people. So let's take an example like the acid reflux. She just began making notes when she talked with people, whether it was just casually or with clients. And she just started to notice like everybody with acid reflux has this issue going on in their life. And she started to see like, well, there's a similarity, like all of them have. And so that's how she came to build that and bring that together. And it's life-changing. And so again, when you're looking at it, and you're looking up fibromyalgia, let's say, and she says it's unresolved fear or whatever she says, the point isn't then to just be like, oh, okay, great, well, like, now what? Because then, like, that doesn't really tell you much. It's very vague. And the point is, it has to be vague because you are your healer. She can't tell you. No one can tell you. I can't even tell you. But we can have a nice starting point to be like, okay, how could that be true? Let's explore my fears. What am I afraid of? And at first it might be kind of superficial, like I'm afraid of spiders or I'm afraid of heights, but then you'll get in, if you let your guard down, okay, I'm afraid of being deeply humiliated, so I try to live in a certain way so I can avoid that. Okay, well, where does that come up? Where do I start to avoid? Where am I not taking risks because of that fear? And then you start to see how chronic illness helps avoid that kind of thing. So yeah, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay is a fantastic starting point.
Awesome. I have that book actually. So that's awesome. And you also mentioned that she's the one who kind of opened your mind to the possibility that we are choosing it all, including our parents, this lifetime.
Yeah.
Do you have any other books that helped you to really explore that even more deeply after you kind of got opened up to the possibility that that's truth?
I would say it was all my yoga studies. And so yoga isn't stretching and asana. It's it's just a whole world. I can't even explain in one sentence what yoga is. So let's just pretend I'm not talking about stretching. I'm talking about spirituality. So any book that talks about spirituality is going to talk about the fact that we create our reality. It just has to. And that's why all my friends are different. Some of us are like, they're all different religions, all different perspectives, but we're all like, all my friends are healers. We all healed chronic illness and we all work in the healing world. So it's so fascinating because there's no one right methodology. There's just the fact that we create our reality and we're all here. We're spiritual beings in a physical body. And I understand that you might not consider yourself spiritual, and I didn't, right? When I was in the thick of it all, I was very atheist, and I was very against the idea of anything because also I just felt like that was more dogma and more programming and more nonsense. But as I peeled back, that was me defending, and like, there can't be anything else out there. But as I started to explore that, like, we are the stars, we are everything, we're so beautiful, we're so powerful. So anything. So you might want to read about Tantra, which is not the sex stuff. Sex is one part. It's like saying yoga is stretching. Tantra is nothing to do with sex, actually. So you might start there. You might start with the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, which is nothing to do with stretching, nothing to do with poses, nothing to do with touching your toes. It's about how to live a healing life, basically, which is everything we're talking about, but Patanjali wrote that thousands of years ago. It's the same thing. Also Ayurveda, and again, Ayurveda is an Indian medicine, and it's not so, you might get into the herbs and the diet, and that might be your thing, and that's fine. But on a more profound level, Ayurveda talks about our constitution and energy and how to orchestrate our life in harmony with nature so that we wake up with the sunrise and our moon cycle, our period, synchronizes with the moon, and anything like that reconnects you back with nature, that reconnects you back to your primal self, your original self, before you got all brainwashed and conditioned and told that you were no good and not good enough and all of that.
I love this. I always knew that there was more to yoga than stretching, but I love how you actually explained it. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you another question. Okay, there it is. How do you help people overcome the initial resistance that they might feel to taking that personal responsibility?
Well, I think the fact that there's an exchange, i.e. they pay me, already puts them in a very, it already helps them let their guard down a little bit, because it's a significant amount of money. And I started off charging almost nothing. And I realized, like, when you, like, because I invested in my own coaching, and I like, well, God, when I press that button and make that payment, already I'm like, right, if I'm going to start resisting, if I'm going to start backing off, if I'm going to start running in the opposite direction, like, I'm going to shake myself, because this is a lot of money. This is more money than I've ever had in my life. Or I'm making monthly installments, or I had to sell something in order to make this happen, you know? And my clients are the same. They've really had to make this happen. And so there's already this kind of like, right, whatever happens, wherever I'm triggered, I'm going to see it as a gift, and I'm going to explore it, because I've paid for this, right? So then right away, there's triggers. Sometimes I've had a client need to take a little space from me, and she's been quiet for a few days, and that's totally okay, and processing whatever it was. And then the triggers get less, because what happens at the beginning is often they feel that I haven't understood them. Because I ask questions, but I have understood them. It's just I can't tell them what I think so directly. Like, for example, what example's coming to my mind? You're manifesting this ear infection because you don't want to hear the truth, which is blah 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 blah. Like, I can't just say it. If I just say it, there's no aha moment. Like, they have to have the aha moment, because when you have it yourself, it all makes sense and all the dots connect, and you're like, and like I had one of those moments a few days ago, hiking up a mountain. I twisted or sprained my ankle, right? And it was super, super hurting. And it was like, I was crying. I thought I would need like a helicopter to come take me off the mountain. And I was panicking a bit. And then I calmed my breath down, and I said, right, I guess I'll do some inner work, because I've got nothing else to do. It was about 2:00 in the morning. And I was like, okay, Sarah, take a deep breath. Why did you fall over just now? And why did you, because it's not luck. There's no such thing as luck, good luck and bad luck. Everything is divinely orchestrated, and we choose everything. So I just got real with myself, and I just said, what is in this? Like, what's happening? So I explored what the feet and the legs could symbolize walking forward in my life. And I was thinking about some different directions I'm going in. And I was thinking, is my body trying to tell me I'm going in the wrong direction? I need to stop. I need to pause. I need to reflect. And then I just thought, maybe I just want to be looked after. I haven't been looked after in forever. And when you twist your ankle, you can't really walk around. You need people's support. I was thinking about money. Is it a money thing? Because now I need to go to hospital. I don't want to go to hospital. And I was thinking. And then I just decided I'm just going to stop thinking about it. I'm getting bored of all this thinking about it. I want to just stop. So I said to my partner, I'm sorry about all this. And he goes, what do you mean? Sorry for what? And I was like, I'm just sorry for all this unnecessary drama. Like, I'm such an inconvenience. And then boom, my heart felt like a knife went through my chest. And I was like, oh shit, I've just found it. And he goes, what, tell me. And I said, there's some part of me that still feels like an inconvenience, which is something my parents used to tell me all the time. And I thought I've healed that already, because I'm really good friends now with my parents. And I thought that was all done. But this gift of falling over and hurting my ankle and has shown me that it's still lying there dormant somewhere within me. I still feel like an inconvenience, that I would have to apologize to my partner. Like, why should we apologize? Like, right? So just getting that out, just seeing that. Whereas if he'd have told me, or if anyone had told me, you've manifested this because you still feel like an inconvenience, I'd have said, what are you talking about? Like, where did you even get that? In fact, I would have felt gaslighted. I would have felt pissed off. I would have felt like, who are you telling me, right? Which is often what happens at the beginning when we start to work with energy healers and different things. We start to feel very like attacked and like, hey, like, stop seeing all my stuff, like, be quiet. Like, it's too much. But when you see it yourself and you realize it yourself, and then then now it's like 3 a.m. and I'm crying, and I start to say some affirmations naturally. I just start to say, I am not an inconvenience. I am not an inconvenience. I am not an inconvenience. And I say it with so much force. I really believe it with every cell. And I'm telling the cells in my body, I'm telling them, I'm like rewiring. If you're interested in rewiring, you can also look into writers and books on brain rewiring. But this is what brain rewiring is. I'm telling them, because they believe they're an inconvenience on some level. The inner child within me still believed that. I could still hear my parents telling me that I'm a waste of space or I shouldn't be there. It was still there. And so I just kept repeating. And then I was like, I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to, if I hurt myself, receive so much care and receive so much love, and people love loving me, this is not like, I had to teach myself this. This was not taught to me. And I'm sure a few people listening can resonate with that. Like, oh, like, I'm allowed to be so loved, so wanted, so cherished. In fact, that's my nature. We have to teach ourselves these things. But anyway, that was a slight divergent story, but I hope that it resonated, because the ankle, although that's acute, it's really no different. It's really the same thing. So when we feel triggered, that's your original question, when we feel triggered, just take a moment, take a pause, take a step back from the work, because the inner work, sometimes it's a lot, right? And it's just like, okay, I'm feeling triggered. Not gonna like go there right now. And then when you feel ready to go there, then you can go there again.
That was a really great example, because practical examples are so helpful for people. And I love that it was actually an example of an acute situation where it's so, even say you get somebody who accepts that, like, oh, okay, on some level, maybe my chronic illness is from, being out of alignment. It's still often really hard for people to grasp and wrap their head around the idea that even acute things that we rule like or write off as accidents or mishaps or bouts of unluck, and as you said, there's no such thing. It's often really hard still to write that, like, to accept that that could also be something that at some unconscious level you're choosing, and that is still for you in some way. What opened my eyes to that was a book called The Divided Mind by Dr. John Sarno. He gave some really great practical examples how what he would see in his practice over and over and over again was how athletes that were training for like something really specific, like a specific race of some sort that was really meaningful to them. Like, he would see over and over and over again how they would end up shortly, like days before the event, with something like a pulled hamstring or a strained ankle or something this. And in the purely physical world, especially in like the sports and fitness realm, it's so easy to make up excuses like, oh, you must have been overtraining, or you must have been doing this, or you were pushing too hard towards the end, or you weren't taking enough rest days. And maybe on some level that was true, and that was your body saying, hey, I need you to rest a little. You're not honoring that, But also, but regardless of what the ultimate reason was, I truly believe there was a reason. It wasn't just happenstance, and maybe it was physical, but maybe it also is emotional. Maybe it was the fear that was coming up about doing this race and failing, So there's so many things, and it's definitely way more empowering when we can step into that responsibility and really understand that we are on some unconscious level choosing it all.
Yes.
It can feel scary, and maybe it's worth exploring. It can feel scary, absolutely, because I've been here where I'm like, okay, I get it, like, this is true, I'm choosing it all. But then you are kind of in that moment where you're like, okay, I'm choosing it all, but then what do I do about it? Like, like, now what?
Yes.
So it's scary to accept it, but also very empowering when you can get on that other side.
Yes. Like, another way to see it as well is that, like, we use language and we say, hey, how are you today? And you say, oh, I'm not that great. My head hurts and like a bit bloated, or whatever your symptoms are. And the thing is, saying what those symptoms express or mean, which could be, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm feeling a little bit scared about this relationship because I'm afraid to be abandoned. And like the truth, like how you actually feel. that is what the symptom is saying. But we live in a culture where we don't like, oh no, like that's too much, don't be too deep, don't say too much, like don't offload onto everyone all your like wounds. But the thing is, when you say, oh yeah, my head hurts, this, you're it's the same thing, it's just different words. You can say,
Yeah.
I'm really pissed about this, or you can say, I've got acid reflux. You can, but when you don't know that those things are connected, you just say the symptom that you have. But as you start to learn the language of your body, which is what your symptoms are, they're just words. Diagnosis don't mean anything, but I'm more interested in the symptom. When you start to know your own body, and like let's say someone who's very clumsy, someone who's always falling over and stuff, and they laugh and they say like, oh, that's just me, I'm super clumsy. Well, no, clumsy, that's another symptom, and there's still symptoms in all of this. Like you said, there's no happenstance. Infections also. So the point is, they're all physical, and they're all real. And yet we are also so powerful that we draw in, we're magnets, right? So this is the other part of the work. We're magnets that draw in exactly what we need, exactly what we need for our next up levelment. And a flare or a pain or an infection is you up leveling. It's you healing some huge, old, outdated pattern that you've been stuck in since forever, maybe even multiple lifetimes if you believe in that. And now here you are being given the gift to step out of it once and for all. And so if you do the inner work, unfortunately, if you just go and get the prescription and take the thing and carry on and miss the work, then you've missed the gift. And what will happen? You'll get another gift, another symptom, because you missed it the last time.
Yeah. Yep. And then so on becomes the 200 plus symptoms, right?
Right.
Body has one symptom. I don't, do anything about it. I don't do the work. Next symptom, gets louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much good stuff. I feel like we've pretty much already kind of talked about it, but I would love to have you just kind of share, what, if you were to like, I guess, sum it up, what is the message that you feel like you're really here to share with the world, and what drives you every day to like share this message?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you for the opportunity to answer that. Oh, I feel that the main point is that you are so divine, and you are here to find your own mission. And so I suppose my mission is to help people find their mission. Once you know your mission, and I don't just mean your job, how you make money, I mean your whole, the whole reason you're here right now in this exact moment, sitting on the bed or the chair, wherever you are right now, in the walls that you're in, listening to this podcast. How did you even get here? Like, where are you? Like, what are you doing? Like, all of this. And my mission is to help everybody be themselves. And that looks like differently for everybody. For some people, it starts with like being able to dress how they want and talk how they want and be how they want and do what they want. And for other people, it's like they're gonna move abroad. They're gonna really change everything in their life. And although these are physical changes here and there, they're only tools. It's just like going to Pilates. Like, that's a tool. You can move abroad, you could go do Pilates. Like, the tool doesn't matter. It's just you coming home to the fact that you are a healer. You are a you are it. Like, you're the thing, whatever you've been seeking or looking outside to find, to help you, to fix you. It's you. It was always you. And when you realize that, you have so much love and appreciation for yourself. It was you all along. It's kind of funny, and we can kind of laugh at all the trauma and the pain and the years of going to hospitals and going to doctors, and just be like, it was me all along. And so if I can help people realize that, and then live life to the fullest, where you're running barefoot on the beach, you're running free, you're swimming in waterfalls, you're free of the cog in the machine of the matrix world of working and paying off debt and just struggling, if I can help you get out of that, that is the healing, and chronic illness will just heal as a side effect.
I love it. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about the work or the just like the services that you're offering, the community? I know you have a community women's circle and you have your own coaching program. Could you share a little bit about that for everyone listening?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to share that. So I offer one-to-one coaching, and I have a group program as well. And if you work with me one-to-one, you automatically join the group. And the group program is basically everything I've accumulated from working with clients one-to-one, because I realized I'm having the same conversations with everyone. And I thought, why don't I just pre-record everything and put it in a course and do group coaching sessions with everybody, because otherwise I'm doing the same thing with everyone all the time. And so that just really aligned perfectly after working one-to-one with clients for a couple of years. However, some people are ready, or they need that extra accountability, and I do daily coaching with my one-to-one clients. And some people just need that, and so then that's why I have the one-to-one. And also, I would say one-to-one is a lot faster as well. We're going to get to the point like straight away. Whereas if someone's already worked with one-to-one coaches, they already know brain rewiring, then maybe they're pretty comfortable working in the group. But so my coaching is everything that we've talked about. It's a lot of spirituality. It's a lot of all this law of attraction, energetic work, the fact that you create your reality, how to create your reality. And it's going to help you connect the dots so that you see why you've got this symptom right now and how to heal that. Rather than me telling you that means that and this means that. You can find books on that. It's a beautiful thing I've created. I'm very proud of it, and the women inside have healed or are healing, and I'm just very excited that the doors are open and that more women can join. And if anyone has any questions, I'd love them to just send them to me. I'm very open. I like to jump on free calls with people to just show you inside the course and explain. There's hundreds of masterclasses that I've recorded. There's also the whole yoga therapy section, because I really do believe in yoga as a tool to connect with yourself, to connect with your inner child, to balance and get strong and like just admire yourself. And, yoga really does help you in your sleep, in your digestion, in all of that. So there's a section on yoga therapy. But the main point is just the main point of the whole work that I do is that you finding your mission, you finding your soul mission. Yeah.
And what you were talking about just now, you're referring to the group program, correct?
Yeah, so all the pre-recorded content, everything like that is in the group program. If you decide to add one-to-one, then you get all of that, and then you work with me one-to-one. So we have our own sessions, just me and you, and I use WhatsApp as a container that my client can message me anytime, Monday to Friday. My clients like to leave me beautiful long voice messages. I love listening to them and replying to them, and then they feel like they have me in their pocket, basically. Like I'm just on call. So then when something happens, the symptom is there or there's something that's going on, they have direct access with me, and it's really successful. I've got lovely testimonials on my website. You can see my clients who have healed multiple chronic illnesses, and again, it's not about me. I'm just a channel. I don't heal anyone. It's not my hands doing anything, or even my mind. It's just me helping them realize that they are their own healer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the group program is it for a set amount of time?
Yeah, well, at the moment, it's a 6-month course, but it really depends on how, because I can't really foresee how many classes that the client wants to take. Maybe, I've guessed it could take 6 months, it could take 3 months potentially, it depends. However, I'm going to give 12 months access to the course, so you can really go at your pace if things come up in life, etc. And there's classes and there's worksheets, and then there's obviously the live sessions are the most important part. Like, let's connect, ask me everything, like let's really go in deep and get to the point. Let's get all the triggers out in the open, boom, boom, boom. And the coursework's more like homework, assignments and things like that I respond to with feedback. And there's also the bonus bag. So you get loads of recordings of previous group sessions I've done. There's loads of stuff. The bonus bag has about 100 classes, and that's just the bonus. That's not even the core curriculum. There's loads of healers that I've got on and interviewed that I don't have on my podcast. They're like exclusive classes. Loads of fun stuff. So yeah, if anyone's interested, you can go to notsochronic.com. Super easy to remember name, because you are not so chronic, and you can have a read. It's all there.
Okay. And now I saw something the other day about your course opening. Is this something where people can only join at certain times a year, or is it ongoing where people can join at any time?
At the moment, it's going to be ongoing. I've decided I was going to do like an open and shut thing, but then I just decided that doesn't really work for me. And that's the fun of like creating our own reality. We can do what we want. And so I've changed that. So, what I will do is if somebody has come to me from hearing your podcast, I will still offer them the early bird pricing to say thank you and because I love you. And, otherwise, my pricing's gone up. So for everyone else, it's like double the price. So yeah, so you can just say, hey, I'm from Our Power is Within podcast and I want your early bird prices, and that'll be totally fine. And we can sort that out.
Awesome. Thank you. Where else can people connect with you?
Yep, I'm on Instagram. I am Sarah Harvey. I am on Facebook, but it's only just repeating my Instagram stuff, so I'm not really on Facebook. But yeah, if you're not on Instagram, you'd like to connect with me, you can definitely email me, and I'm sure we'll put that in the notes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so email, Instagram. If they're on Facebook, they can see what you've posted on Instagram via Facebook, and then check out your website, notsochronic.com.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have any final messages that you would want to share with anyone out there listening?
I would just like to share that I was a stubborn girl, and I refused to believe any of this. And I would just throw the laptop. I wouldn't listen to any of this. And I send that girl lots of love. And if that's you on any level, I send you lots of love. And I'm only speaking from experience. And the truth of the matter is that we are our own healers, and I wish you, I don't believe in luck, but I'm wishing you luck in your journey in healing, in finding yourself and loving yourself and healing yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing all of the wisdom that you've accumulated over the years through your own, personal experience and discoveries. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a really wonderful conversation with so much great, great golden nuggets that you got to share with everyone listening today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is a wrap. Thanks again for being on this journey with me, you guys. Thanks for supporting the podcast, and enjoy your writing challenge this week. And until next time, make this week great.